Please introduce yourself, Morgan.
I started in 1992 as an apprentice, originally at a place called The Summit, which was a revolving restaurant back in 92. And then in 94 moved over to the Maryvale family.
And what were you doing in fashion?
Just a scout and new face model management. So because I'm a chef, I can multitask. I can do more than one thing.
It's not about anybody trying to exploit you. It's literally about you learning the master of the art from somebody else. So someone's devoting their time, their knowledge, everything that they have and giving you that. And in return, you're giving them time of day. If you've seen yourself at that barrel of the camera and you could tell your younger self something, what would it be? Welcome back to the Hospo Dojo podcast. In this episode, I sit down with Morgan McGlone, the mastermind behind Bell's Hot Chicken, which has been setting the standard for fried chicken in Australia since 2014. But Morgan's story goes far beyond the kitchen. He's worked alongside world-class chefs, managed models in New York, and orchestrated over 87 pop-ups around the globe. Now at the helm of Bar Copains, a one-hat venue in Sydney, Morgan continues to redefine what it means to blend creativity, business, and hospitality. Please introduce yourself, Morgan.
My name is Morgan McGlone. I'm a chef proprietor of Bar Copains and soon to be Bessie's and Alma's in Surrey Hills.
Nice. And Bar Copains, give us a little bit of a rundown on what Bar Copains is.
Bar Copains is a French-inspired wine bar that was started by me and one of my best mates, Nathan Sassy, ex-Nomad. He did Mikado. He also did Lee Street Wine Room in Adelaide, and we've always wanted to open a wine bar together. He brought me in. We found the space on Albion Street, and then we brought in one of my older managers, sort of beverage manager from Bell's. Once we all left Bell's, and then he's become a small partner now in our fold as well. So Christian, he heads up the beverage, keeps the customers lubricated and
the flavor profile.
And Nathan is the driving force with what we do. He's a menace.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And Morgan, tell us a little bit about your tenure, your history in hospitality. You started Bell's Hot Chicken, which was, I think, revolutionized the game of fried chicken in Australia and really started that trend. There was burgers that had started, like the smash burgers and stuff, and then you had your pasta bars coming up, and then you had Bell's.
Oh yeah,
that's what I found in that 2014, 2015 2014, 2015, where traditional dining was starting to change in Australia. More smart casual dining was occurring. Everyone started going out in t-shirts, sneakers.
Yep.
It was like this upmarket sort of vibe, and I feel like you came in at this point where it's like bringing casual dining sort of with an elevated experience though, right? So tell us a bit about Bell's and however you started in the industry before.
I started in 1992 as an apprentice, originally at a place called The Summit, which was a revolving restaurant back in 92. And then in 94 moved over to the Maryvale family, and then continued the end of my apprenticeship with Luke Mangan at Hotel CBD in 1995. 1996 went overseas, came back, and then 99 went to Salt, which was just up here in Darlinghurst, pretty close. Was there for 2.5 years, and then I went to America as a private chef just after the Olympics.
Wow.
Which was pretty cool.
How long were you there for?
I was with that family for about just over 2 years, and then I made a massive change, and somehow in New York, when I was living in New York, I made a change to fashion. So I worked as a model booker, took care of Miranda Kerr, Catherine McNeil, a couple of big names first in New York, and then I moved to Brazil for a few years.
And what were you doing in fashion?
Just a scout and new face model management. So I used to go scouting. Like when I moved to Paris, I was working for a massive agency there called Next Model Management. and I would go to countries, and we would obviously scout models. So
Wow.
like I mean, not just I didn't get one of these. It wasn't a street scouter. It was
Yeah.
actually set up professionally with agencies, and then I would choose new faces, bring them to Paris. We'd groom them for the Paris market, and then build their book, and then they'd go back to their mother agency, and we'd keep them on the
Right.
books. And from time to time, they'd come in for bookings.
And how'd you get into fashion?
I was catering for my mate in New York on his photo shoots because I was working for a family, and I was working
Yeah.
like 3 hours a day, just at night, just cooking dinner for them, but
Yeah.
living with them. But so I got kind of bored. And in New York, you're in New York,
Yeah.
man. You can fucking
New York's
you can
do anything.
You can do anything, man. You can go to the moon. Like, in Australia, like you're a chef here, right? Like I'm a chef. If I said to them I wanted to be a model, could they be like, mate, pull your head in? You're a model. You're a chef.
I've never
mate.
ever heard of that sort of hustle, man.
I know. Well, I mean, and basically how it happened is I met this guy after 9/11 at a New Year's Eve party. He was an Australian photographer, fashion photographer, and he said, mate, my food on my photo shoots are really shit. Would you be able to come in and do breakfast, morning tea, lunch, and afternoon tea? You get paid per person, and there'd be a budget, blah blah blah. And I said, look, mate, if I can get a
Yeah, I find America has these budgets for food
on photo shoots, like
on anything.
yeah, I was getting like $350 a day, like budget.
Yeah.
Mate, I would not spend more than 150.
Yeah.
So 200 in the claw, and then you do 4-day, 5-day shoots. You get to look at beautiful women. Then I sort of transcended that into doing castings for him, and then I'd look through the books, and then I'd take Polaroids, and then I just said to myself, mate, I want to stop cooking. I'm over it. So he said to me, mate, you should get a job at a model agency. So I got a job at a model agency as an assistant to the booking table. Because I'm a chef, I can multitask. I can do more than one thing, even to the detriment of the rest of the table, saying that, mate, you got to slow down. You're making us all look bad because you're doing 2 jobs at once. And then, so then from there, at the time I had a Brazilian girlfriend. She wanted to move back to Sao Paulo. So I moved to Sao Paulo, lived there for just under 3 years. While I was there, I was still catering with a really famous chef there, doing catering gigs on the weekends with Alex Atala. He's a pretty big chef in the food world. And then I moved to Paris. And then from Paris, I was there for 4 years, and then I came back.
I love Paris, man.
Oh man, it's fun. It was fun. Back
What a
in
beautiful city.
Yeah. I mean, I was doing, you're there. You know what I mean? It's everything is done the right way. I mean, to what they think
The
it is,
Parisian way.
Yeah. And then I came back 2009, and with my brother, we opened up a small little French bistro up on Flinders Street called Flinders Inn, which lasted about 22 months. And then we worked out that there was the new era of MasterChef, 2010. No one was going out in the winter. Everyone was glued to the TV because this new game show was on, and they were like, "Oh my God, we're cheering for the those sort of contestants." And then we closed, and I said, "Fuck, I missed the boat. I think I wasn't doing any gels or any like foams or anything on any of my dishes. So I thought maybe I've got to do something different." So a mate of mine said to me, "There's this guy in South Carolina. You should go check him out. You should go see if you can go stage there," which, staging, work for free. And I wrote away to this chef called Sean Brock, his trajectory was just kind of starting with Southern
And how'd you
food.
write? Did you email him?
Just emailed him, and I said, "Hey, I'm from Australia. I'd love to come work for free for a month and do a stage." And he goes, "Man, we've never had anyone from Australia. Please come down."
Wow.
I went because I had a visa still from when I was working in America, kind of like an extended O1 visa. When I got there, within 2 weeks, I'd asked for a job. I just said, "Man, I got to work here. This place is unbelievable."
Yeah.
Like I've never seen, like people talk about farm to table here in Australia, but it's not really farm to table. I mean, it's not the real farm to table, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking about the Amish dropping off tomatoes, like the pigs coming in with the pig farmer, like dumped at the back, and everyone has got to take them off and break them all down and making charcuterie. massive smoker trailers and just sort of ingredients I'd never even I'd eaten, but I haven't really sort of had any idea
experience of how the process goes.
the process goes. Working with the Latin community, Guatemalans, Mexicans, kind of doing this sort of new style of food, which was, man, it was so romantic in a sense that I'm here in the South, the first kind of non-Southern person working in these venues, and it's the day I started is the day that Husk, the restaurant that I was working for, got voted Bon Appetit Restaurant of the Year.
Wow.
The first day, I signed my work contract, and that day it came out in the magazine. Oh, bang! So I worked with Sean there for just over 20 months, and then we went to Brazil to do an event with Dave Chang and Daniel Hume and Dan Patterson and all these guys. And while I was there, he said to me, "Hey, man, I'm opening up this new place in Nashville." I said, "Oh, yeah, man." He goes, "Oh, what's your plans?" I said, "Man," my ex-wife at the time, my ex-partner, said, "Look, man, I gotta go back to Australia sooner or later, man. I've been here for a couple of years." So he goes, "Oh, that sucks, man, because I was going to ask you to be the head chef of Husker Nashville." And I said, "Actually, I'm not going to go back." So I ended up taking the job. And I opened up Husker Nashville. And actually, it was really crazy because at that time, when I actually took the job, Nathan Sassy, my business partner now, was just about to open up Nomad.
Wow.
So we're talking about I think he came around about 2012. Okay. So he was doing this huge American tour of stages and stuff. And he asked me "Oh, man, do you think I can come and hang out?" I said, yeah. He came and hung out. And then towards the end of his stay, we all drove through Atlanta to Nashville to find somewhere to live. I had to find somewhere to live, so we had a weekend there in Nashville. So it's quite serendipitous that, a few years later we opened up a place together. But he was kind of one of the only people that actually came and visited me at that time. Yeah. So, I mean...
That's a core memory, and probably a turning point in your life, I guess, for you to be able to be exposed to this level of not only cooking, but the level of what I would consider responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
To a foreign person who you've only worked with for a couple of years.
Yeah.
You built trust to be able to travel together. And then he's come and trusted you and said, "Hey, while we're on this trip, he wanted to obviously see you
see me in
remotely in action. Can I trust him?
Yep.
Overseas." And then he's like, "You know what? Give him the opportunity." And then you were surrounded by some of the greats.
Oh, man. That experience, Husk, I mean, we especially when I moved to Nashville, we opened in 2013. I moved there into 2012, and then all the 2013. Then I moved back to Australia to open up Bell's in 2014. But that sort of 2 years I had in Nashville was just insane. Nashville's it's a crazy town because it's a crazy city because you've got country music, you've got Southern rap, you've got that Memphis rap, and then you've got professional sports. You got the Predators.
Yep.
You got the Memphis Grizzlies, which is the next town over. Yep. Huge Memphis Grizzlies. You've got the Titans, Tennessee Titans, NFL. So you've got this element of
it's a melting pot.
It's a melting pot, right? Yeah. So and then you got huge black community, huge Latin community,
huge white
community.
Yeah.
And then you've got these we would every week the Black Keys are coming, Taylor Swift's coming, Keith Urban. All these people, and some of these people that I never even know who they were, like Dolly Parton came a couple times, all these crazy,
And what was the venue like? What was it?
It was. We
had to define it in one sentence.
It was inside. It was inside this old governor, sort of like a governor's house. So it looked very I'm not gonna lie to you, it looked kind of like a very rich white person's house. But then they knocked down one house just to make a car park.
Wow.
And then that sort of wrapped around into the back kitchen. And then we had this sort of private dining area, which is pretty cool. Kanye and Kim were in there one night we did some fried chicken for those guys. And we would have from time to time, we would have big private, private guests back there. Then we had a sort of like a kitchen garden. Then we had a bottom level sort of like dining area. I think.
And did you follow the same principle, the farm to table there?
Yeah, 100%. We had to engage. And I'll give you one story that we were getting lots of vegetables and produce from the Mennonites and the Amish on the border of Indiana, going up into Indiana. And then the only way you can actually get the vegetables is you have to write a letter. So they send you a letter and you write a letter back. And then in that letter, you post the money. And then someone meets them on the border of Indiana, and then they go back to, But then there's a period of time where
you can't
in the winter they can't access it because they've only got turnips and cabbage anyway. So that's to self-sustain their community. But during the spring, summer time, and autumn time, the fall time is when it it flourishes, and you get some of the best produce you can even fathom.
Well, Pepe Say actually buying milk and cream from the Amish now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in the States.
No way.
Yes.
So he gets sent here?
No. He's set up in the States.
Oh, okay, yeah, man, that made crazy. Because there's a family we used to use called the Cruz family. They used to make incredible buttermilk.
Yeah.
Then we used to engage with Wedge Oak Farms, which they used to do like our pigeon chickens. And man, you it's not like in Australia. Like, I need 30 chickens, man. You might get 15.
Yeah.
That's what you get. Like, pigs are the same thing as well. We used to work with Bear Creek Farm, beautiful family. The Cherry family used to have the most incredible beef. And the way they used to do is they used to probably do 5 head a week. And then if you committed to a certain capacity, you would get
first in line
sort of thing, right? But then you might just have culottes, or you might just have shin, or you might just have this. That's what you have to work with. Like this. Man, you go through where it's like anything. It's like an allocation type thing, right? So
then you were in this melting pot. Creativity reflourished.
Yep.
I guess you had that transitional period between 2010 and 2012 where it's just like I'm a bit lost here. I don't know what the world wants because I left the industry.
Yep.
And your first step, even though that you were a conditioned chef, you literally went back to ground zero and said, "Hey man, I'm open ears. Let me stage." And I literally say that to. I've made so many segments on it, and I've said it time and time again. This is what hospitality is all about. It's not about anybody trying to exploit you. It's literally about you learning the master of the art from somebody else. So someone's devoting their time, their knowledge, everything that they have, and giving you that. And in return, you're giving them time of day.
Yep, that's exactly it.
And it's an open playbook. Like, you could learn wherever you want to go, whatever you want to do. If you want to be a master baker, man, go to find the best baker in the world. Find the one that aligns with your goals, right? You want to learn French patisserie? Well, you can go to France and get a stage. You don't need to speak French.
No, you're 100% right.
And then you move back to Australia.
So while I was in Nashville, there's a style of fried chicken called natural hot chicken, which is like, you got Prince's, you've got Pepper Fire, and the main one that's kind of like I align bells off and make. Okay, I style bit it a little bit. It was called Hattie B's. Hattie B's did Nashville hot chicken and craft beer. I did Nashville hot chicken and natural wine. But where Hattie B's, I felt like kind of
I wouldn't say you stole. Did you gain inspiration?
Yeah, 100%. No, we were already doing fried chicken and Huss, so I already knew how to fry chicken. It wasn't like a thing. But the concept of, really just sticking to one type. So at Hattie B's, you could still get shots and you could still get, but there's no cocktails. There's like a bunch of breweries, and then there's, amazing chicken. But I always felt that the sides were just like, man, if they just spent a little bit more time on their sides. But they had like 18 sides. So at Bell's, we had 3. And then we added one more. And we only sort of like rotated 4.
Yeah.
You always had the crinkle cut fries, you always had the mac and cheese, you always had the pickles. And then we'd also we added coleslaw. And then later on we'd do like a special one, like the broccoli salad with ranch dressing or something like that. I always felt if you sort of focus on having those 4 or 5 things and great chicken and nice wine offering and great sauces, I think that'd be enough. Everyone said I was pretty crazy because I was just doing chicken, but then we added a mushroom and we added a piece of fish and we did it like a hot fish sort of thing. But that's it, mate. That's it. Like we just said, like, man, you know what? I think Australia it can have niche businesses.
Hyper niche.
Yeah,
yes.
hyper niche businesses
100%.
where you just go and you just have that, and you can have that in an hour and still go somewhere else. Like, you know, but we kind of wanted people to kind of hang around and drink and enjoy the venue. Every venue kind of looked like a diner. So like we kind of had that diner vibe, vinyl playing. You know, we did shots. We did like collabs with like moonshine companies and stuff like that. So Melbourne Moonshine was making us a lot of moonshine for a while. We were just, everyone was about having a good time, right? So that was 2014, August 1st, which was just last Thursday, 10 years on. And man, yeah, like it went crazy. Like it started pretty hardcore, and then we started doing collaborations with other places, with mates of mine that, you know, wanted to, you know, wanted to sort of get the vibe. We did one at Icebergs, which was
crazy,
dude, so crazy.
Crazy. Bells and iceberg,
like,
fried chicken in one of the best restaurants, one of the most beautiful restaurants in the world.
100%. Like,
you're at the most beautiful beach,
and the day was perfect. Robert Redford was there, Kim Kardashian was there. I was like, not at the pop up, but they were like in the icebergs, and they were like, why are all these people lining up and down the street? I couldn't even believe it. I you know, even up until my last pop up I did at Bell's, which was in Copenhagen, I didn't think I always think no one's going to turn up. Like there's no one going to turn up. So it's like maybe like 5-6 people, and you know, thank God we never had any ones that were pretty shit.
What do you put, like, you know, there's a lot of guys that tune in that want to start their journey.
Yep.
And you started around the world of pop-ups.
Yeah.
How did you even like take that initiative to start the pop-up, and then how'd you go about, you know, finding the location and saying, I want to pop up here, can I do my shit?
I think, man, like the way we did, thankfully I had a lot of friends. Like, man, I did my first ever pop-up I ever did with that Nomad, and Nathan organized that. And then Nathan organized it. I couldn't believe it. I said, man, how many people? He goes, man, we got about 450 booked. I said, what the I haven't fried chicken for more than 40 people. He goes, oh, we're going to learn tonight. We had a deep fryer in the middle of the kitchen. It was like, we had an extra deep fryer. He didn't have a deep fryer, he had an extra deep fryer. It was insane, because I think people have that sort of, that idea of you can have it for one night only, right? Or
man, look at Peter Gunn. How'd Peter Gunn start?
Oh, man.
Peter Gunn was the leader of pop-ups.
So, man, he's
true.
He's a boy, man. He's a boy.
Yeah, he's the OG.
He's the OG, man. He's the OG. But I think like we the way we used to orchestrate them is we never got a fee. We just said, hey man, just cover the costs. We come in here, man, you keep the revenue. Just look after us, like, you know, feed us, whatever. You just cover the flights, cover the accommodation, and we, you know, I did. Man,
so you wouldn't take the cash?
No, the people take the cash. Well,
the venue takes the cash.
Venue takes the cash. I
So
think that's why,
a big misconception that everyone thinks that you got to take the cash.
No, man. I mean, look, if it's a standalone place, I think if it's like kind of like an independent venue, like say you're doing it like in a container or something like that, you keep the cash, of course. But if it's like at someone's venue, they've got to close the night, they got to pay their staff, they got to pay rent. Like, you're there to promote your brand.
Yeah.
I never once took money like to do that. Like I said, man, just cover the costs, take care of the guys. And we don't have to stay at the Sheraton or anything, but we obviously we don't want to stay where there's bed bugs. So like, you know, like
compromise.
But just, man, but like, and everyone's going to win, because already now the venue doesn't feel like, oh man, we've got to make double the amount of money so we can cover his costs and his thing. I mean, it only sort of came later when I started doing stuff with brands. I would ask for a fee, but like generally, if it was my mate's restaurant, I'm not going to sting him. You know what I mean? You're like, hey man, I want $5,000 for that, for the $25,000 revenue I'm about to make you. But man, it just
that's a misconception about a pop up, and I think, you know, this is like, I'm so glad that you're saying this, and I respect it so much. I don't think you understand how much I really respect it. It's a two-way street. These guys are giving up time.
Yep.
They're giving up their energy. And even if their venues, it's not a pumping venue, they've got their overhead. You're going, mate, you're giving me the opportunity to pop up here.
Yeah.
I didn't have to build this space. There's a kitchen fitted out here. So you're literally turning around and say, take the revenue, just cover the baseline costs.
Yep.
Our flights, if we had flights, accommodation, we're talking like basic accommodation and the food costs.
That's it.
You guys
Not
kept the
even
rest.
food costs, man. They buy the ingredients.
Yeah.
We bring the spice. They brought the ingredients. You just, man, we just have one nice lunch, or we have some drinks after.
Thank you very much,
man. And I think that way it was reciprocal in a sense that like they didn't have the pressure to like, oh man, we have to flood this thing out. And yeah, there's some of them were.
How many pop-ups have you done?
Oh man, 82 to 87, something like that.
Yep.
Like, I mean, now I'm Papa, so I can't. I'm too old. I'm too old. I'm too old to do pop-ups, man. I'm like, but like, man, I had that sort of idea in my head that, look, you know, I mean, I did it with Noma.
Yeah.
Like Under the Bridge with Noma, like Richard Harden, Copenhagen, Japan, Wagyu Mafia. Like, fuck, there's been like, yeah, easy 80. And then like, you know, the stuff in America, I did stuff with Matty Matheson. I did the stuff with Action Bronson. You know what I mean? Like it all sort of came about that these are cool to do because I wasn't stinging any venue. Like, oh man, you know, I want fucking 10K.
Yeah.
I wasn't doing that. Like I was just saying, man, you cover my costs, you cover my people's costs.
Yeah.
We have a nice
and you
dinner
transfer from the get-go. Thank you very much.
Man, you keep all the revenue.
Yeah.
Keep it all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And as we transition, you sold out of Bells?
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm not going to say it's sour or anything, but like I think post-COVID, I mean, pre-COVID, I had an amazing salary. You know, they took very good care of me. We had a great GM there. Dean Bingham. He took great care of me, and that all changed. I think once when we sort of came back from COVID, I think those sort of base salaries were no longer feasible. There was no chance to travel, so there was no pop-ups to promote the brand. The brand was already doing well as it is, and I think they kind of saw it as. There was no money there to pay a guy that doesn't really want to work there. Yeah, just change the menu items, and then when you get told, "Oh no, you get paid for the menu items you change," I'd be like, "No, I think it's time to look at something else." So, I was very, very lucky to do a transitional thing with a couple of really cool people in Potts Point. It was called Sunday. It was a rotisserie chicken venue, and then Nathan and I, we've always wanted to do something together.
Rekindled.
Man, I got thrown a lifeline there because I mean I was doing ceramics and not really cooking as much, I guess. So I was just trying to find out what I was actually going to be doing. But
and how old are you?
50 years old.
And even at the age of 48 to 50, you're still trying to navigate your life.
Yeah, I mean it never sort of ends. You know what I mean? Like I think you're always trying to look for opportunities and set goals for yourself and set goals for, you know, people around you. I'm in a kind of like a mentoring state where I want to just see really cool kids coming through and see where they want to go with their food dreams. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's a different era now, man. Like, it's so different way we have to align ourselves with our staff and the way we got to try to encourage them. I mean, I'm not perfect. I mean, I still I can still like crack it sometimes, and you sort of really sort of grab yourself that you. There's no room for those Gordon Ramsay guys anymore, mate. Those days are over. You know what I mean? So
I don't even think Gordon Ramsay's actually like that anymore. To be honest, I think
I mean,
it's just for the show. But I get exactly what you mean. I think you know, I guess we've had. This pandemic's been a double-edged sword for a lot of people and for everyone where we've all lost from it, okay? I think we've all lost a lot, especially in this industry, and it's okay to say that we've lost, right? Yeah, some guys profited in that space. Some guys doubled down and they made it, and hats off to them. Yep. They turned something disgusting into something amazing. Yeah. But I think everyone learned how to become a better human.
That's true.
during that period.
Yep.
Compassion came back out, which is something that we were losing in that time. I think in Australia, especially between 2013 and 2019, there was this rapid growth.
Mm.
The economy was just like booming. Cash was flying everywhere.
Yep.
Everyone was turning to different vices at times,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And because it was just you just settling the pain with the other shit just to keep going, right?
Going. Yep.
And you were in this consistent rut all the time, and you're just running, chasing behind your tail.
Yep.
And then someone just came and gave you a knockout. And I think that in itself made a lot of people work on themselves. Some people, unfortunately, sadly enough, haven't been able to come out of that. And that's where, like, I worked on myself in that period more than anything. In 22, I was like, what the hell do I want to do with my life? It just made me stop and think, like, is what I'm doing actually what I want to do? And then that's when I repivoted and I said, very similar to you, I was like, you know what? I went on this journey. I found myself. How can I now help someone else find themselves?
Yeah.
And that's now been the whole purpose of the Hospo Dojo, where I'm like, okay, how can I help an individual a day? That's my thing. So if it means bringing like-minded people together in a room, sharing an old story and saying, this is what I learned from this, great. This might be my God-given talent. You cook, I design the kitchens that you work in.
Yeah.
So my talent is I can design a beautiful box or a kitchen for you to be able to do your passion. And if I can help you design your kitchen more efficiently and optimize it and teach you something along the way that you probably would never been exposed to, I've done my job. And along that line, there's a lot of people that I meet that have different business experiences, more than I've ever had, more than I will ever have. And it's like, and I always look at, like for you to be able to just pick up and leave and then always be nomadic and consistently be, moving around between different jobs, but not jobless, but in the sense of still finding yourself and finding that journey, man, that's inspiring. It's like, you know what? Like, the world's not over.
No.
You changed careers and you came back stronger than ever.
Yeah.
And you built a beautiful network. So, Morgan, what's one piece of advice you'd give to, that young up and coming chef who's hungry, who's, he's found himself. He goes, you know what? I want to become a chef. That's it. I am a chef. I own this. What's one piece of advice you'd give to them?
I really do believe that you need to put in the hours. You need to put in hours. There is no way humanly possible that you can be a chef the level of the top chefs in the world without putting in hours. And they're hours that, you might have to turn off the clock and work by it back. You might have to, come in on your days off. You might have to come in a couple of hours early. I mean, we live in this society now where every hour is counted. And I do honestly believe in work-life balance, but I also believe if you want to be in the top 10% of anything,
yeah,
it takes commitment and it takes hours. Like it's not going to come from a YouTube channel. It's not going to come from a cookbook. It's going to come in putting in the hours. It's going to be coming chopping that onion. It's going to be coming in like slicing that piece of beef. It's going to be coming in like getting in filleting a fish. It's going to be coming from that. That's where it's going to come
that repetitive muscle memory that you need to, in a chef's world, you need to keep on training and, how I'd like to say is practicing, obviously in a controlled environment and honing those skills, And I also find that if you want to be a greater individual in whatever case, in whatever field that you want to go into, but in this line, let's say chefing, if you're a great chef, great. You've learnt your chef skills and whatnot, awesome. But what if you go learn a bit of butchery?
Yep.
What if you go work behind the fishmonger for a little bit, Learn those different aspects and find your passion within. Learn how to cook with fire.
Yep, 100%.
Learn how to cook a pizza. Like, you got to learn the different dynamics, and it's, it's not just going to come to you because you've seen a venue do really well, you want to do that, because proof is in the pudding. This guy has seen trends come and go.
Oh, mate.
What's the average lifespan of your venues that you've had?
Well, I had obviously the one that failed was just under 2 years,
Yeah.
and we're talking about like when it was meant to be, like,
Pumping.
It was pumping.
And what do you think was the biggest cause of that failure?
I honestly think location. Some people don't play into location. I mean, this was a time also too that Uber just started, so people were trying to navigate how to use Uber. We were in this sort of like main street, which is Flinders Street, like coming down towards Captain Cook, Lang Road sort of thing. And man, you couldn't stop. Like, I mean, if you're in a taxi, you couldn't stop. The parking as well. But also too, that was a sort of 2009, 2010 was when like Mark Restaurant was massive. Remember, like they got like 19 out of 20 for the
I was
lunch
young.
menu.
I was like 16.
Yeah. So like they this restaurant got like 18 or 19 out of 20 for a lunch special menu.
Wow.
It's like, fuck, man. We might as well just close lunches.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and also too, we were doing this. I thought the food was unbelievably well executed. Price point was great. Myself and Manu Fidel, they had their own sort of French bistro not very far from us.
Manu had one.
Manu had one.
Yep.
Yeah, it's called L'Etoile. So there was like
Yep.
in Paddington.
My dad loved that place.
Yeah, so it was us versus them.
Yeah,
We were
but it was a good rivalry.
But it was good rivalry. We not a shit one or anything
Yeah.
like that. But like we kind of like that sort of woke me up to thinking like, man, maybe I've missed the mark on where the market's gone, because you had these guys doing these gels and using all these using all this like molecular gastronomy,
Yeah,
like these construction.
sous vide was coming back.
Bro, I even got a sous vide machine. I didn't even know how to use it.
That's what I'm saying. Sous vide came in, Paco Jets.
Yeah, but like, mate,
Right.
like Thermomix, I used to use it to make icing sugar. That's how I didn't even know how to use it, right? So like, you're getting all this equipment. I mean, I'm a chef from the 90s, man.
Yeah.
I'm trying to use all this modern equipment, sous vide machine. I'll give you an idea. Like I was sous videing lamb rump, and I was like, oh, when do I start? I didn't even know how to use the thing. Like I was putting this lamb rump in there, and I was like, well, why is it still so tough?
Yeah.
Because I didn't know how to use it properly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and I sort of just kind of missed the mark. But then eventually all that sort of stuff sort of subsided, right? Everyone got back to like cooking properly, cooking with over charcoal.
You're going back to basics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was even as early as 2013, 2014 when you started seeing restaurants, or 2012, So 2012, 2013, 2014 is when you started seeing restaurants actually cooking again. And the sous vide machines were like not really being used.
No, go on.
And then also too, then like later on came cooking on fire. Like now, man, you go everywhere. There's charcoal everywhere. You know what I mean? And that's an amazing thing. Like like I love food cooked over fire. I love food cooked over charcoal. I think and now we have a space in most restaurants where they have either like a hibachi grill,
yep.
or a massive wood fired oven and the whole kit. You know what I mean? Who knows where it's going to go after this? I mean, I hope it sort of stays on this trajectory of being like where food is really, really.
I think food is just becoming more. As the time goes on, people just want simpler dishes that taste really, really fucking good.
Yeah, that's what
It's all about the produce.
Mate,
I think
it's about produce.
Yeah.
I also think it's about the way it's handled and executed. And I think the biggest one ever is the price point.
And, on a bit off topic, but what was your biggest financial up?
2016, my original business partner, Reno Petunio, man, he came up to me and said, look, man, I'm nearly 70. I know you want to do this global expansion. You want to fucking take it to the interstate, take it here, take it there. I had all these grandiose plans. He said, look, man, I'm like, look at someone buying my shares, and you, man, I want to make sure you're cool with it. And I said, oh, who you think you're going to sell to? And he goes, oh, I might sell to this pub group who are now the owners, who were my business partners, 100 Burgers. And I said at the time, how much do you want for your share? And he said like, oh,
Whatever it was.
Yeah, whatever it was. And at that time I thought, I couldn't find that money. I wouldn't be able to find it. Man, I'd be able to find it in 5 minutes now. You know what I mean? Like that, because my mindset
Was so different.
Like, oh no, I've just started this business. I mean, I didn't think I could even find 15K, but this was like, I mean, a lot more than that.
Yeah, of course.
And I wish, if I could go back in time, and
It's like one of those opportunities that you can't claw back from.
I know. And then those guys they're not bad guys. The 100 Burgers guys. We did a lot of different ventures together. We opened a lot of bells together, and but our journey sort of finished. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I've got nothing bad to say about those guys, but man, I wish I had.
More so that you had that opportunity.
I had the opportunity to buy them out, and I had all these people say to me like, "Man, we'll get you the money." I said, "No, it's too much money. I don't even know how. What happens if I can't pay it back?"
Yeah.
And then now it's
don't you wish you had like Nathan there at that point?
Everyone needs a Nathan Sassy, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
Genius.
And that's important, like to recognize your strengths and your weaknesses in business, and that you have a partner that has their strengths and weaknesses, right? Yeah. And I guess something that I want to touch on, I know you mentioned it a couple of times, and I don't want to put salt on old wounds, but this whole podcast is always about trying to give actionable insight or some piece of advice to someone else. How you've been a chef 50 years. You mentioned work-life balance. How do you manage to have, or what have you learned anyway about the family dynamic in going home at the end of the day? How do you manage to try keep that all together now?
I co-parent with my ex-wife's. Mm-hmm. We have a son together. Okay. He's 5. I mean, she's a chef. She's the executive chef at Fratelli Paradiso. So she cooks there. So we do a 3.5 day on, 3.5 day off sort of thing. He goes to daycare. The biggest challenge I think is going to be next year when he goes to school, because he's going to go to school next year, big school. Because I kind of like the 6 p.m. sort of close downs at daycare, and it's now going to change to like 3:30 or 3 o'clock or whatever it is to do the pickup. Fuck, that's going to be a real big change. Going to be different, and it's big different. Like, but the greatest thing is that my business partners Nathan and Sally, they got 2 young boys, so like we've always had that sort of understanding. Then family's first. You know what I mean? Like we work for the business, we work to the best for the business, but man, family comes first always. We've always had that great dynamic with that. I mean, because we work in conjunction with when he's with his mum, I work, and then when he's not with his mum, maybe I do a day shift, right? So then I can still pick him up at night. But man, that time with my son is the most important time. So I don't want to miss that. So we always sort of respect each other's schedules amongst the business, in the business that we get to spend quality time with our kids. And I think that sort of helps you grow as an owner, as a business, like as a mentor to your staff as well. Because if you don't have that balance, man, you're gonna it eats you up, right? It throws you out. We fortunately we were able to travel with the business and go overseas. And I always know because we always travel together. It's like myself, Nathan, Sally, she's our business partner as well, Nathan's wife. And it's always towards the end of the trip, we're kind of like, we've got to get back for our kids. It's great to be away, but it's also it's important to also be able to share those sort of moments with them. Yeah. And his boys and my boy will grow up in this business together and see and hopefully work there. And we there's so many people I know, like look at Neil Perry's kids, mate. They work at Margaret.
Mate, I was in the back of a kitchen at the age of 8 years old, washing dishes. Yeah, and it was the best time I got to spend with my dad. And then used to cut deli meat at like 10, and then was making coffee at 12. In a cafe in the Blue Mountains. I'd wake up at like 6 a.m. and go and spend 4:30 a.m., 5 a.m. My cousin would pick me up and we'd go up to the Blue Mountains and we work at this little cafe. There was a deli, pizzeria, something very different for the area. They didn't actually understand what Neapolitan style pizza was there, but now they do. But that was way before its time. But the same thing, like I always found that I learned life lessons within that working environment, on the kitchen, on the floor, communicating with people. And then like between the ages of 14 and between 13 and 15, I was literally just running food.
Yeah.
I was a food runner, dressed in all black, like
Yeah.
like black. You used to wear your best black shirt, your best black pants, and your black shoes, and run food in the venue, and just be a glassy, clean up the glasses, clean up the dishes, and just go up and back, up and back, up and back. But yeah, it taught you how to be a better person by being able to communicate with the
100%.
customers. And I feel
100%.
like in any family business dynamic, I think it's important to give your children the opportunity to know or to learn responsibility. I don't have children yet, but this is how I learned in my family. Was I always had a sense of responsibility, and I found that when I had responsibility, I had purpose.
Yep.
And when you had purpose, when you go to school, you knew that, okay, after school on Thursday or Friday, before I say yes to my mates, oh shit, I actually got to help Dad out.
Yep.
It was always about helping Dad. Dad didn't need my help. I know he never wanted my help, but he just wanted me to learn.
Yeah, exactly.
He could have paid someone to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
But it was more so that the way that he instilled it with me was like, I'm actually helping Dad out. So then I felt like I had a purpose, but then I also felt like I was contributing back to the family.
Yep.
And then that built a strong relationship for me and my family anyway. So if that's a piece of advice back for you, hearing it from
no, man.
horse's mouth.
Look, the crazy thing is that, like, we work in the hospitality industry.
Yep.
We have to learn to be hospitable.
Yep, 100%.
I mean, that's the thing is that, like, I think sometimes people in this industry feel like what's in it for me more than what's in it for the guest. You know what I mean? Like, we're a massive component in our businesses about guest experience because we want to be hospitable. We're in the hospitality industry. So, I mean, I want to teach my child the responsibilities of what you learned as well, and how I learned to become a man as well.
Yep.
So responsibility is a massive,
It's amazing.
It's an amazing thing that you can pass on to your child.
100%.
And that, I think most kids, they want to help.
Now,
they want to be here. They want, like, my kid, like, man, you don't get that Mentos if you don't pick up your stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you have to. I mean, obviously there's a bit of a
give and take.
Yeah. But, like, I always feel that, like, that if you teach them really young, like I learned when I was really young, mate. It's like,
mate, the owners of Bun Ricardo here, amazing Italian restaurant, Dave and Rose.
Yeah.
School holidays, their kid's got an apron, wrapping up kale-heads in the kitchen. He's 4 years old, bro, standing on a stool.
Yeah.
And he's walking around the restaurant with a tea towel on his shoulder. Okay, and then he walked up to me and he goes, "Would you like some still and sparkling water?" Still or sparkling?
Yeah.
And he'll grab the still water, and then he'll ask his dad, "Can I grab the nice glass?" And his dad will say, "Yes, just be very careful." 4 years old,
4 years old, mate. That's it.
And he comes to my table and he pours me a still, like a Sam Powell.
Bang.
Oh, bang.
And
Kid's 4 years old. But it's not about working them. It's about just exposing them and giving them, just giving them that bit of freedom.
I think exposure is one of the most, like, one of those sort of, like, opportunities that people don't take advantage of.
100%, man. 100%.
If you're exposed to, I mean, it's like anything. If you're exposed to violence, if you're exposed to, like,
that's what you learn.
Luxury, all those sort of things. But if you're exposed to seeing your parents work, then you think, oh man, it's cool to work.
Yep.
You know what I mean? When it's cool to work, then you're gonna do
great things.
Great things.
No, 100%. And Morgan, just to sort of wrap up for today, if there's one thing you could tell your younger self today, if you've seen yourself at that barrel of the camera, and you could tell your younger self something, what would it be?
When I think about it now, more like, 50, I started cooking when I was, 16, 17, which is like 33 years in this industry, which is like, it's crazy to think that, all the experience, even though I had that little break with the fashion thing and stuff like that, but it's still
that all grew your skill set.
It still grew my different skill set, right? So I think if I could do it all over again, I would have just, learned to I reckon I would have just learned to, like, just take it in a bit more. I was always sort of rushing to do the next thing, and I never really
embraced.
I never really stopped to smell the roses half the time. Even with Bells, like, man, I was just like on a mission to just get this thing global, that I would, man, some of the places my business partner Christian and I, we we did this harvest party in Austria one time for this really cool wine brand called Gudegau. While we were there, mate, we were working out how we're going to do this pop-up in Russia. Because I was like, mate, we're going to go to Russia. We can go to Russia because we were doing this tour.
Yeah.
So we did Paris, we did Austria. Then we were going to Copenhagen. And so we did Copenhagen, then we bounced. But while we were in Copenhagen, I said, man, we can fit in Russia, I reckon.
Yeah.
This was before COVID, before the war and everything. So like it was pretty cool. So I never really sort of stopped sometimes to just really sort of take it in. And I feel like, you know, as I got older, now that I'm 50, I really want to sort of take the time to really appreciate what you build, what you teach and what you learn.
Yeah, man. I think that's I think one way to do that, and now I'm just self-reflecting on me, you know, I've just literally been touring for the past year, up and back everywhere. And I felt the same way. I was like, man, I don't get to stop and embrace what's around me. And I think what's important is as you build your schedule, because especially in this day and age, we're so schedule driven.
Yep.
And it's sad. But unfortunately, it's how business needs to run and it's how we need to operate. Okay. So like now I actually, for myself, this is how I run my personal life, is I schedule every single part of my day. So I block out time to have dinner with my wife every night. So whatever the time that is, I actually block it out in my calendar because my calendar's open internationally now. Yeah. So I get people from overseas booking calls in from the UAE, from the US, from the UK, from Australia, right? How do I keep up with all this? I need a booking time. So this is the time that I go to the gym. I lock my calendar out. This is the time that I have dinner. I lock my calendar. This is the time that I have lunch. I book the calendar out. People think I'm crazy, but that's what I need to do. So now I'm thinking, right now you hit a light bulb in my head. I'm thinking when I'm traveling, I've got to book a day on either end of it, in the beginning and the end, so that way I can embrace and smell the roses.
100%.
You know, it's important.
Yeah, we actually did that on this last trip that we did to London. We didn't plan from the trip that we did before, we didn't plan the first day, and it was probably one of the best days we had because we didn't have a schedule. We went to a pub. We had a great lunch. So we had a dinner plan, but we didn't have a day plan. So you arrive into London at 6 a.m. in the morning. It's going some free time, but we kind of like enjoyed instead of go, and then it sort of set the precedent for the trip for the rest of the time. So
as Morgan says, guys, take a step back and smell the roses. That's it. Hey, my brother, I really appreciate your time today. We look forward to seeing your new venues, Bessie and Alma's, coming up.
Yep.
I look forward to seeing your invitation because I want to eat your beautiful food. All right. And everyone's spoken about your current bar and pop-up. And I actually sent some people over there for some inspiration. I think they love your little sando.
Yeah, the little whiting sando. Oh, yeah, man. So cracking.
Good. Yeah, that's it. Again, Morgan, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Really appreciate the love.